That would be great. Welcome, everybody. We'll be starting shortly with our Global Gopher Experiences webinar. Welcome, welcome. Okay, we'll give it maybe a minute while people are joining us. If you would like to chat where you are joining us from, we would love to know where you are today. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon for all of our students from all over the world.
Hi, everyone.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. I think we can slowly get started. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. My name is Nindu. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the Student Engagement Coordinator at ISS. So, thanks so much for joining us today. We welcome you to the webinar on off-campus living. So, we are so excited to spending some time with you today and hope you find today's session helpful. So, while we wait for more students to join in, feel free to type in the chat where in the world you're joining in from. We are so excited to hear from you. Where in the world you're joining us from today? Please type in the chat if possible. And you could also say what your program is, what your degree is, if you're comfortable with that. Welcome, everybody. For those who are joining this just now, we're just starting, so please feel free to type in the chat where you're joining us from. Hello, everyone. Yes, Lana from Saudi Arabia. Welcome. And Yichin from China. I hope I'm not mispronouncing. Apologies in advance. So, welcome, everybody. Excited to have you today. Hello. So, before we get started, I want to let you know that this webinar will be recorded. And if you prefer not to be included in the recording, especially your video, please feel free to turn off your camera at any time. And while we are waiting for folks to join in, we will play a short video and we will start the recording after that. Okay. Once again, welcome everybody to the webinar on off-campus living. Now let me pass to our student leader, Liam, to introduce you to the Q&A function.
Thank you so much, Nindu. Hi, everybody. My name is Liam Taha. I'm so glad to have you all here. I just want to give you guys a quick and brief rundown of a few things that will help you navigate through today's webinar. If you have any questions, please refer to the Q&A function to submit your questions. You should be able to find it at the bottom right of your Zoom window. If you're having troubles finding it, try clicking the three dots as you see in the screenshot there, and you should be able to find it just right there as Q&A. Um, as shown in the screenshot, also, there's a chat function. But please remember that we will not be checking the chat for questions. So to ensure that your question is addressed, please make sure to submit it in the Q&A function only. We are so excited to spend some time with you and hope you find today's session helpful. And now I'm going to pass it to Doris to introduce the Global Gopher Experiences events.
Thank you, Liam. Hi, everyone. My name is Doris Lee, and I use she, her pronoun. I am a Senior Global Gopher Experience Leader, or GGE Leader, at ISSS, or ISSS. Welcome, everyone, to attend our session today. Our panelists will share a lot of helpful information during today's session. If you do not have a chance to write down all of the information, don't worry. This event will be recorded and uploaded to our website. So you can watch it again and again after the event, as many times as you want. You can also find our recordings of our previous GGE sessions on this website. GGE includes many different helpful sessions, just like this one. We would love to see you again at our future events. You can see all of our upcoming events on this slide, and we have also marked whether each event will be held virtually or in person. Our next event for Austin is on August 5th, 8 to 9:30 a.m. Central Time, which is how to take care of your health and navigate the US healthcare system. If you're interested, please make sure to register. And we will share the registration link for the event in the chat. Now, I will pass it to Beth Essency, the Associate Director of Student Engagement and Intercultural Initiative in ISSS, to do the welcome remarks.
Hello, everyone. My name is Beth Eisensee. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm Associate Director at ISSS. So glad that you're joining us for Global Gopher Experiences today. And we are so excited that we're going to see you soon. We call you Global Gophers, as Global Gopher is our Goldie Gopher is our beloved and award-winning University of Minnesota Twin Cities mascot. And now you are part of the Gopher family, which extends all over the world. So if you have not done so already, please type into the chat function where in the world you're joining us from. So this is an important webinar today on off-campus housing. On a personal note, my own son is for the first time moving to a university housing in August. And from experience, I know that some of you will be planning every detail, and others, like my son, who says to me, I will just figure it out when I get there. I recommend somewhere in between in your planning to prepare as much as you can, but also to remain flexible. So just a little tip from me. So who is ISSS? So International Student and Scholar Services is the office on campus dedicated to holistically serving the university's international community. That means you. Our team of over 30 staff members are experts in the field of international education, and serving our international community is what we do, and I think we do it really, really well. One of the areas that we do specialize in is providing immigration guidance and support. So before we begin, I do want to acknowledge that on July 17th, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security published a final version of a new immigration rule that will change the way that F and J visa holders, which includes most of you, are admitted into the United States. It will go into effect on September 15th. So after you arrive on campus, but you are likely to be impacted in your long-term planning by this rule. So what it basically means is that this rule will limit the amount of time that you will have in the U.S. complete your degree, and then if you need more time, then you would need to submit an extension to the U.S. Citizen and Immigration Services to extend your time. So this is a new process. It just came out where we ourselves are trying to understand what the new rule is and how to best put that into place, as well as determine what kind of information you will need to know for your long-term planning. So you're going to receive further communications about this new rule. That's why I wanted to make sure to bring up today so that you're not surprised when you receive these communications that yes, in fact, this new rule is going into effect. And you also can learn about this new rule on our immigration updates webpage, and we'll put that into the chat. We have a website page that's dedicated to any new immigration rules that come out. So we'll put that up for you today. So again, we'll continue. We'll update to you about this through either email or webinars in many different ways. So just want to be sure that you know that we are aware and we're ready to support you. And in that, I want to say that our President Cunningham has made it very clear that international students and scholars have been and will always be essential part of our university community, bringing knowledge and experiences to our university for over 150 years. So you are a vital and vibrant part of our university community, and we are honored to have you as a global gopher. Sorry, I'm going to turn it over. Sorry. So I'm going to turn the topic over now, and we are lucky to have so many experts today and amazing student leaders to support you in your journey. So Doris?
Thank you, Beth. And hi, everyone, again. And this is Doris. Yes. So we know that moving to a new country can be really overwhelming. But we want to but we want that but we want to let you know that you're not alone. We have many professional staff here today and our student leaders joining us online today. And we're here to help you navigate off-campus housing and everything that comes with starting your journey as an international student at the University of Minnesota, just like me. And today, we're joined by several campus partners from Housing and Residential Life, Student Legal Services, Department of Public Safety, and Office for Student Affairs to support you through this process. They are all here to provide valuable information and answer your questions. We're also really lucky to have several ICSS staff members with us here today who can help with answer questions related to ICSS requirements, your I-20 or visa, and other immigration-related topics. And finally, we have our amazing student leaders here too. And you have already heard some of them presenting earlier. They are really excited to share their own experiences, and we hope that hearing their stories can help you feel more connected, supported, and confident that you too can thrive here too. And now, I would like to hand it over to Austin from Housing and Residential Life to get us started.
Hello, everyone. My name is Austin. I work in the Housing and Residential Life Office at the University of Minnesota. Today, I will share more information on how to search for off-campus housing near the university. We operate an off-campus housing website for students. Properties pay to advertise on this website, and by participating in this service, the properties agree to comply with our off-campus housing program policy. You can see current listings anytime by going to listings.umn.edu, and this map is updated daily. Next slide, please. The best way to search for current available apartments is to filter by your preference. Use the filters at the top of this list to narrow your search. You can filter by number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, price per unit, or price per person, and additional filters such as the dates available for move-in and amenities. Once you apply these filters, the map will only display properties that meet your criteria. Public transportation routes are included on the map so that you know how close you are to the nearest bus stop or light rail stop. You can favorite properties on the listing service. Make sure to create an account so the system saves your favorites. And when you're ready to contact the property, use the contact information on the listing. This will connect you with the leasing office at the property, and you may ask for virtual tours if you're not able to visit in person. Next slide, please. All right, what to expect to pay. The biggest question we get from students living off campus is how much does it cost to live off campus? We work with a few different vendors to track market rates, and the rates on this slide are the expected costs for an apartment in the university area over the past year. Rates for an apartment is the rate to expect when you are renting an entire apartment. Usually, tenants with a roommate often split this total rental amount in these sorts of living arrangements, meaning you would split this rental amount with another person if you're living with another person. Rents per bed is what you should expect to pay if you are just renting a bed within an apartment. Sometimes there are two beds within one room, so you would share the room with another person. Tenants do not usually split the total rental amount in this kind of arrangement. Typically, this arrangement is for a furnished apartment, and you are the single leaseholder in this arrangement, even though you're living with other people. Properties on the listing service should display a per person only rate if they rent by the bed, but you can always ask the leasing office about the rental rate. Is this rent per person or for the entire apartment? All right, next slide, please. Here are some things to consider when renting an apartment. Take some time to think about your minimum requirements for an apartment. My recommendation is to make a list of your own requirements for your future apartment and ask the leasing office your questions directly to ensure you know what the apartment offers. So here are a few good questions to ask yourself. How much are you able to pay for rent? Do you want to live close to campus, or are you okay with living further away from campus? When do you need to start looking for housing? I will say, in my experience, do not feel pressured to sign a lease. In Minneapolis and St. Paul, we have a high amount of housing units around our campus neighborhoods. Make sure to complete all your required documents with International Student Scholar Services at the university and complete all your required documents with the United States government. And finally, be absolutely sure that you want to attend and will attend the university prior to signing a lease. It's very important to make sure that you know you will absolutely move in and be at the University of Minnesota before you sign that lease, because often those leases are a full 12-month commitment. Another good question to ask is how many bedrooms do you need, especially if you're living with a roommate? Do you want or need your own bathroom? Could you share your bathroom with a roommate? And then what do you need inside your apartment? Some units are furnished, others are not. All apartments should have basic appliances like a stove, oven, and a refrigerator, but other features can include a dishwasher, in-unit laundry, and air conditioning in the summer. All buildings in the Twin Cities will provide heat for the winter, but sometimes air conditioning requires the tenant to use or bring a separate appliance, such as a window or wall air conditioner. So just be aware of that and maybe ask those questions when talking to the leasing agent if you are interested in that. Some properties will include all utilities in the total rental rate. Other properties will require you to pay your own utilities directly to the utility provider separate from rent. Internet and Wi-Fi are not always included in the rent, so it's also very important to understand the total amount of money it'll cost, including the utilities, to live in the apartment each month. Overall, make sure to consider these questions when searching for an apartment, and feel free to ask the leasing officer questions to learn more about what to expect. Okay, next I'll pass it on to Emily with the Office of Student Affairs to talk about off-campus living.
Hi, everybody. My name is Emily Oswald. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Senior Director for Student Engagement within the Office for Student Affairs, which is just a lot of words to say that I support building community and engaging students beyond the classroom and in the life that they're building here at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. One of the ways that I do that is working with our off-campus living team and supporting our commuter connection. So students who don't live on campus, which is, I think, all of you as a part of this webinar, as you're exploring your options. And personally, I do that full-time job during the day, but I'm also a full-time PhD student at night. So I know also what it means to come to and from campus and try to set up your life while also trying to navigate being in the classroom. So I hope today's session is helpful in that way. So, off-campus living, or OCL, you might hear, is a one-stop digital resource that's meant to support, right? Once you've found where you want to live via the tool that Austin shared, or additional ways of exploring housing, this is how you can explore what that housing experience would look like. There are renter education workshops, housing fairs, a Canvas course that can kind of walk you through what it means to be a renter in our current environment, goes over the non-compliance list that Austin mentioned, and then additional community resources. And we're going to go over a couple of these here in a second. So some of the immediate resources, Austin already went over, right? That off-campus listing service. And then we additionally have a roommate finder tool to try to find other people to live with that are UMN students. The previous tool was just retired and we're looking to relaunch our new one. You should have updates to that in early August. I know it's a hard time to make that transition, so I apologize. But there was some logistical needs on our end. Currently, there are public resources available to help find a resource that are not University of Minnesota sponsored. You just should know that if you use one of those tools, like a Facebook group or something like that, we can't verify whether or not who you're choosing to live with is a fellow student. And so our tools that we use on this website are meant to intentionally do that. So once that's back posted up there, you'll have the ability to connect directly with fellow UMN students to find rooming. So our Renter Education Canvas course is the best way to learn resources at your own pace, right? So whether or not this is your first time ever living on your own or renting an apartment, or this is something that you've done before but in your home country, this can be a helpful way to navigate what it means to sign a lease, to explore housing, to submit a maintenance request, and explore your different options. So the link has been provided to enroll in the course, but it's a great opportunity to navigate all the resources you have at the U of M, but also figure out what skills you might need to develop or get better at to do this process as seamless as possible. Here's an overview of tips for living with a roommate if that's something that's new to you or something that you're continuing to navigate. But roommate issues are commonplace if you share your home space with someone that is new to you or you have differences with. Navigating them is a regular part of life and as a part of your college transition that is likely to occur. You have some different resources on campus to navigate that. We have something called the Student Ombud Services, which can help resolve a dispute. It's a free university resource. That sos.umn.edu tool can be used to schedule something. And even if your roommate doesn't inherently want to be a part of the process, and you're just looking for individual help yourself, you can request a meeting and they'll go over maybe some ways to plan out a conversation or ways to draw boundaries, or different ways to engage in hard conversations with the people that you're sharing living space with. And that list of questions is a great place to start by setting some expectations with a roommate before you start living together. how do you navigate having a significant other over? What's your schedules like? Do they align? Do you have any pets? Do we agree on when the lights should be turned out if we share a bedroom? And different considerations around how you share space and resources aligned with your housing. Next, I'm going to go over some of the various neighborhoods that surround the University of Minnesota. So you've heard the University of Minnesota Twin Cities both has campuses in Minneapolis and St. Paul, which are two cities that touch each other. But then we have these neighborhoods within the university environment that can be helpful to navigate like what you're looking for. So the most immediate surrounding neighborhoods are called Marcy Homes, which includes what is called Dinkytown, which is the closest kind of right across the street environment from the University of Minnesota. There are minimal grocery options. There's a Lund's in Marcy Homes, and then you can also access Target Express in Dinkytown. And it's fully accessible via our campus and the Metro public transportation. Next, you have Southeast Como, which is very small and mostly commercial and only recently has more apartment buildings or rentable spaces. And there are a few grocery options, and those are accessible via the Metro and the bus. And then Prospect Park also includes Stadium Village area, a lot of businesses, a lot of restaurants, but also do have some grocery options. And you can get there on the light rail and the Metro and our campus connectors. Next is West Bank. So our West Bank neighborhoods are referred to as across the river. So our Minneapolis campus sits, if you look at the map there, on the north side of the Mississippi River, and the West Bank exists on the south side of the river. Luckily, there are plenty of bridges and ways to get there, both on foot and via transportation. So it's not a far trek, but it is on the other side. There are multiple colleges that host most of their classes over on the West Bank, so that might be something to consider if those are your classes. Cedar Riverside is closer to downtown than it is to campus, and Seward, which is more south, is a more affordable neighborhood for housing. There is Co-op Grocery, which are also a great affordable option, but again, everything's accessible via light rail, Blue Line, and Metro. And then last is our St. Paul campus, which includes both our St. Paul University campus and then directly adjacent to it on the north side is Falcon Heights, which does have multiple shopping centers right adjacent to it, and again is available by Metrobus and our campus connector. And then there is also Como Park, which is closest to the state fairgrounds, which is just a helpful landmark when you're looking for things. And then St. Anthony Park, again, has a good grocery store, and you can get there on light rail and Metro bus as well. This is a parking give back and storage option if you are someone who is not staying near campus during the summer or during different breaks and need help with storage. There is a way to use what's referred to as our reuse tool, where you can request any donated microwaves, futons, and fridges each fall. So make sure to track their Facebook page and sign up when they offer that. And then the storage option is pretty affordable as well for breaks. You can do 1 month or the whole summer as an example, depending on how long you need in between your different housing options. Our OCL website also has storage options listed there if you need that. And then finally, I've been talking about it a little bit, but your public transportation options. We have what are referred to as our Gopher campus connectors, and the Gopher Trip app will be able to tell you exactly when and where those are coming around directly on campus, but also in some of those immediate neighborhoods surrounding. And then we also have city transportation, which is referred to as Metro Transit, that can get you on and around the Twin Cities via public buses and light rails. We're also a very heavily bike lanes and bike area, obviously during the non-cold and icy and snowy months, but it's a great way to get around the city as well. Something to know about one of your resources as a student is that you'll receive included in your student fees the University Universal Transit Pass, which means that you have a free access card to any of our buses, light rails, or express buses, beyond even just the ones that the university provides with the Gopher Transit. So make sure that you activate that once you have your U card. So once you're on campus, there'll be stations both in the student union and then also at the metro stops that stop through campus where you can activate your U card to serve as the transit pass. I think next I will pass it over to Nick to talk about safety.
Good morning. My name is Nick Juarez. I'm the Director of Community Engagement at the Department of Public Safety here on the Twin Cities campus. Our department is made up of 3 units. One, we do have our own police department. We also have a university security team that provides some services, safety services for you. And then we also have our 911 dispatch center. So anytime you call 911 from anywhere within the property of the University of Minnesota and off campus in the Dinkytown area, that will go to our dispatch center, and then our officers will respond to that area. A couple safety resources that we have. One is our 624 Walk program. This is a free service that's available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. If you ever want someone to walk with you, so if you don't feel comfortable walking by yourself, you can call 612-624-WALK. We will send one of our uniformed security individuals to meet with you, and then we'll walk where you need to go. As long as you start or end at a University of Minnesota property, this service can be used. We also go about a mile off of campus. So again, as you're starting to look at where you want to live, or if you have a building already, if it's in that 1 mile zone of the East Bank, West Bank, or St. Paul campus, this service can be used. So we can walk you off of campus within that mile zone. The Gopher Chauffeur, this is a free ride for you. There will be a QR code that will be coming out here in a few short weeks of how to use the Gopher Chauffeur. This is also operated by our university security team. This is the Gopher Chauffeur recently expanded its hours. So now we're at 7 p.m. to 1 a.m., 7 days a week, and we go year round. The only time that we close the Gopher Chauffeur is for university holidays. But if you don't want to walk and you want to request a ride, you can request the Gopher Chauffeur. They will come pick you up. And then again, we go about a mile off of campus as well. So this is another great resource when you're living off campus. Let's say you're leaving the lab at 1 o'clock in the morning and you want a safe ride back. You can use the Gopher Chauffeur at 1 o'clock in the morning. We'll come pick you up and then we'll drop you off at where you need to live, as long as it's within that 1 mile zone around East Bank, West Bank, or St. Paul campus. When you come, you'll see what these called blue light kiosks. These are tall towers with blue lights on them. They're on the East Bank, West Bank, St. Paul campus. They're in Dinkytown and as well in the tunnel system below the university. This is a quick way to get help. So if you ever need assistance, whether it's a medical emergency, you need a police response, you need the fire department, find a blue phone, push that red button. That will activate a live camera feed and an intercom with our dispatch center. So that way our dispatchers can hear and see what's going around you. And then from there, we can dispatch fire, police, or EMS, which is our ambulance service, that will respond to the blue phone from where you push that button. The Rave Guardian app, this is a free app that you can download. It's a virtual walking buddy. So it's using your phone contacts as a virtual walking buddy with you. If you do not want to use your friends or family or your contacts, you can use what's called the Guardian. And then that will be our 911 dispatch center. So what you do is you plan a trip. Say I'm leaving one of the libraries, and then I'm walking to one of the off-campus properties. It's going to take me 15 minutes to walk there. I pick a friend. That friend gets a notification that I've started my walk. If I don't end that walk in the amount of time, they're going to get another notification saying, hey, Nick has not reached his location yet. You need to check on him. If you use our dispatch center, it'll be the same option. If you don't end that trip, our dispatch center will try reaching out to you. If we cannot reach you, we will dispatch a police squad, to the last location of your phone to make sure that you're okay. We also have the Off-Campus Safety Center. This is a free study space for students. It is U-Card access only, so which means it's only available for use by students, faculty, and staff. It's not open to the general public. It's located in Dinkytown, which is 315 14th Avenue Southeast. There is a blue phone that's located outside the safety center as well, but you can come in and study, you can hang out. We do a lot of community engagement activities here. There is always somebody from the Department of Public Safety in the safety center Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. There's someone always there. So if you ever have questions for the police, or questions about your safety or a safety concern, you can walk in and there'll be somebody from the Department of Public Safety there. And they were able to provide some resources for you. We do have a lot of resources from other departments here on the university, especially mental health, food shelf interests, and also from our Rec Well Center. We do offer a lot of classes at the Safety Center. We do a self-defense class. We do situational awareness and active threat trainings, but we also partner with our community partners and our other departments at the university. Student Legal Services comes once a month to answer questions if you have questions about your lease or any legal questions. We do have Minneapolis Police Department come once a month as well if you have questions for them. Last year, we did partner with the Rec Well, which is our activity center, and they taught a Pilates class every Tuesday afternoon as well to, again, help students be more relaxed when it comes to studying, and to kind of just take a break from the rigors of the university. We do have a neighborhood safety page, a lot of great resources there. When you come, and if you ever have questions about safety, please come to the safety center, come to our department. We are a resource for you. We do work closely with ISSS, so if you have questions, go to them as well, and they can forward your questions on to us. So with that, I'll turn it to the next speaker.
Hi, good morning. My name is Adam Elling, and I am one of the lawyers at Student Legal Service. Student Legal Service is a free full-service law office on campus available to all students who pay the student service fee, which I believe is all of you. Our office has 8 full-time attorneys, 2 paralegals, and multiple support staff. Our practice areas range from immigration, criminal, consumer, all the way to landlord-tenant law, and that's why I'm here today to talk about landlord-tenant law. And you can see our links here. Oh, go back and that's our contact info. usls@umn.edu is how to reach us. 612-624-1001 is our phone number, and sls.umn.edu is how you find us, our website. All right, now we can skip to the next slide. Thank you. All right, before you sign a lease anywhere, please have our office do a lease review for you. This is, if you don't take away anything else from this meeting today, that will be the most important thing to take away. Give our office a call. If you've got a place in mind, say that you're an international student, that you are a part of the Global Gopher experience, that you heard Adam speak at the event, and that you are looking for a lease review. Usually we don't have appointments for people who aren't students yet, but we make an exception for our international students who are incoming to do those lease reviews. So if you take away nothing else from today, make sure you have us do a lease review for you before you sign that lease, because leases are binding contracts that are enforceable once they are signed. It doesn't matter if the lease has not started yet, or if you are not in Minnesota when you sign the lease. Once you sign it, the landlord can enforce it and collect all the money that is owed. And they're big contracts ranging from anywhere from $8,000 to $15,000. And it's a big deal. And you want to make sure that we review that lease for you before you sign it. So once again, I'm gonna hammer that message home today a bunch of times to get that lease review done. One of the most important things you can do during the pre-lease phase is ensuring that you are signing a lease for a property you actually want to live in. So make sure you understand the neighborhood, who the landlord is, and if you are able, Communicate with people who have lived in that property before. Try to understand what it's like to live there. And I'd also like to add, to make sure, and Austin said this earlier, but it's another important point, make sure that your visa is in place before you sign that lease. Again, it doesn't matter where you are when you sign the lease. It doesn't matter if the lease hasn't started yet. As soon as you sign in the state of Minnesota, that lease becomes fully enforceable. So again, make sure that you have that visa in place. And of course, if you're not able to get much information on the property, or you don't know, or you're feeling overwhelmed, you don't know what is going on, please reach out to us and let us do that lease review. All right, let's switch slides. Okay, one element of a lease that you need to understand is the security deposit. This is money that you pay to the landlord at the time you sign the lease as a deposit that should be returned to you with interest as long as you return the property in the same condition it was in at the time you started the lease. The landlord can only deduct from the security deposit damage that is beyond ordinary wear and tear. Anything, damage or cleaning that is beyond ordinary wear and tear, the landlord can take from that security deposit. But they must give you a written explanation for everything they withhold from the security deposit. After the lease ends, the landlord has 21 days to return the security deposit to you or provide you with that written explanation for why they withheld some or all of the deposit. If they don't do this within 21 days of the termination of the lease, there are penalties that you can collect from the landlord. And you can reach out to our office to help you with that. But some tips for protecting your security deposit. When you go there to your new property and go to move in, get pictures of everything on the day you move in. Floors, ceilings, walls, appliances, fixtures, and furniture. If it's in the property, take a picture. Also, write down anything that is damaged or looks out of place and provide that writing to the landlord. And make sure that you ask the landlord to come in and do a move-in inspection with you. A representative will come into the property with you, and they will go over everything, and you can note the condition of the property along with that person who is a representative from the property management company. Then, while you're living there, keep up with your cleaning and inform the landlord of anything that needs to be repaired. So anything that goes wrong, let them know. And then at the end of the lease, clean the place like crazy. Clean like you have never cleaned before. Pull out the stove, pull out the fridge, and clean behind there. Make sure everything looks great. And then request a move out inspection. Just like you did a move in inspection with the property management company, you need to do a move out inspection with them as well to note the condition of everything. They can tell you what needs more attention, what you might be charged for, but you have that right to do the move out inspection. So make sure you take advantage of it so you know what's going on at the time you move out. At that point, you have a great record of the move in and move out condition. So there should be no surprises when you get your security deposit back, or if you don't get it back. And you also have a landlord, and if you have a landlord who waives the security deposit, that they'll try to make it seem like that's a benefit to you, but it's not. Do all of the exact same steps that I just described to you with taking the pictures, doing the move in and move out inspections, and cleaning the place like crazy. All right, let's switch to the next slide. Okay, every lease must identify who the parties are. That would be you, the landlord, and any roommates you might have. The lease must have the contact information for the landlord. The lease must also identify the rent amount and any fees that might be associated with the lease, like with a security deposit. These fees must be stated on the first page of the lease. The lease term must also be identified. Watch out for the lease to end earlier than 12 months. Almost every lease in the university district will have a start date of mid to late August and then early August or even late July. But you will pay the landlord in what they call installments for your rent. They will say the totality of the lease is worth X amount of dollars, and they are individually paid in those 12 installments. Very often we will see a lease that will start on August 1st, and then you can't move in until August 26th. but you still have to pay for that full month of rent on August 1st. So just know that you don't have, at this point, the law has not caught up with what the landlords are doing. So you will have to pay that full month of rent, even though you won't be moving in until August 26th. There is a law that states that any lease that ends on any day other than the last day of the month, then that month needs to be prorated. But all of the landlords in the university district are now working around that law and instead doing what I just described, having that first payment come in on August 1st, and then your lease won't start until August 26th. The lease must also identify the unit number. So make sure that the unit number is on the lease and you don't sign it until you have a unit number on the lease. And then this is just to make sure that you are getting the property that you actually want to get. Sometimes properties don't have, or sometimes the unit that you're moving into won't have an exterior window in one of the bedrooms, or some of the bedrooms might not have a window to the exterior. That can be very maddening for a lot of people. So you'll want to make sure that you know exactly what the floor plan of your unit looks like, and that comes from knowing what the unit number is. And of course, if all of this is confusing and overwhelming, once again, come to our office. Let us do a lease review for you. We can break this down a little bit better for you. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Avoid scams. Okay, to avoid scams, try to stick to only university-sponsored or hosted websites to find our landlords. Austin and Emily talked about that. Listings.umn.edu, that's the greatest place to start. Do not sign any leases through Craigslist or any other non-university affiliated sites. Far too often when students stray from the university websites, we see scams. So Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, anywhere else, we see scams all the time. If it's possible, have somebody who is local go to the property for you before you sign the lease to see that that property actually exists. Never make a payment in gift cards. Try to avoid using Venmo for payments, and never pay anything in cash to a landlord. Again, I'm sounding like a broken record, I know it, but if there's any doubt or if you have any questions about a property that you're looking at or you're thinking about signing at or something doesn't seem right, reach out to us and let us do a lease review for you, and we can get to the bottom of things a little bit quicker. All right. The bottom line on all of this is these leases are big, expensive contracts, and the landlords will deliberately make them look complicated by using small print and making them 25 plus pages long. Or now there's a lease going around the university district right now that's over 70 pages long, which is completely overwhelming for students, but especially students who are coming in from another country and possibly speaking English as a second language. So let us do that hard work for you and explain it to you and break it all down for you. All right, I am passing on to Nindu and Liam to share some tips as current international students.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Adam. Here on the screen, we got a few tips. Adam really did a good job of covering a lot of it. But I want to add a few of my own personal experiences with rushing leases. So one thing I always tell to upcoming students is to never rush housing. And as Adam mentioned, it's a big contract. And me and two of my friends made the mistake of signing a 1-year lease without reviewing all the options thoroughly. And ended up having so much issues with our housing. But at that point, we were stuck to 1 year. We were stuck to that 1-year lease. So my tip here would be for any reason that you are not sure if the housing option is the right fit for you, just avoid signing a 1-year lease. And if you need to move in somewhere temporarily, just find month-to-month options or semester-based options. That way you're not stuck for a whole year. I also want to speak about parking and transportation. Me personally, one thing that avoided me from getting a car during my first year was the parking option in my previous housing. Obviously, every housing on campus or even off campus will have a parking fee usually. right? And the parking fee that we had at our previous residence was just so outrageously expensive that it made getting a car just not a good choice during that time. So you always want to make sure that you know whether you're planning on getting a vehicle during your lease term and what the options would be. You like, for example, parking on property or parking off property. The housing that I had didn't have any options for off-property parking. The only place we could park at was on property, and it was very, very expensive. So those are little things, but they do add up. So make sure that you have a good idea on everything that you can expect, basically. And I'll pass it in Indu to speak a little bit more about graduate student tips.
Thanks so much, Liam, and thanks so much, Adam, for that detailed explanation on the legal side of it. So yeah, as a grad student, I will pretty much echo what Liam shared a moment ago. All the tips that Liam shared do apply to graduate students as well. If you're a graduate student coming with dependents, maybe you want to check out graduate housing options available. There are two graduate housing options available on campus. One is CTC, Commonwealth Terrace Cooperative, and the other one is CSCC, Como Student Community Cooperative. Please refer to the graduate housing guidebook, and a link to it will be shared in the chat. And also current graduate students who are living at CTC and CSCC and are looking for potential roommates, they usually post availability on CTC and CSCC official social media platforms. And also, these platforms also share information about move out sales and giveaways. So that's worth checking out. And for the next slide, I will pass it to Cody, who will introduce you to the iPrep course. Cody?
That's right. Thanks, Nindu. Hi, everybody. My name is Cody, and I work in new student check-in. In addition to your orientation checklist, which all students do, international students must also complete another checklist that's for ISSS. We call it the New Global Gopher Required Tasks. You can see a picture of it here. There's a section for things you do before you arrive, and another section for things you do post-arrival. This task list guides you through requirements you must complete and information you need to know as you prepare for your first semester. To ensure that these tasks get done, ISSS will place a registration hold on your account on September 2nd if you have not completed these required tasks. You will not be able to register for classes or change your registration after September 2nd until these tasks are complete. If you complete the list before September 2nd, no problem. It won't affect you. So my advice is to start right away. Be ahead of schedule, not behind. On the next slide, you can see one of these pre-arrival tasks, iPrep, the International Student Preparation course. It's separate from the orientation prep course and is just for international students. You do need to do both courses. iPrep is an 8-part online course full of very useful information about visa regulations, academic culture, what to expect when you arrive, and more. It will take a few hours to do, so don't wait until the last minute. It is also required that you report your new address right after you arrive. That's what's on the next slide. It's one of the post-arrival required tasks. I know it's just a mailing address, but it's required. You can enter it in MyU in the My Info section. If you label it as a mailing address, it will automatically be updated in other systems too, so you should only need to update one place. Anytime you move, you should update that mailing address right away. Keep it current and accurate. Now I will pass it on to Adriana to cover some questions and answers.
Gosler are able to make Adriana to unmute. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. We are ready for our questions and answers. First of all, we want to thank all of you who submitted your questions when you registered for this webinar. I will be reading these questions that you have pre-submitted, and our campus partners will be collaborating with us by replying to them. After that, we will move on with the questions that you have asked in the Q&A function. And as I said before, our campus partners will be assisting us with responding. For the first set of questions that I have over here, they're pertaining graduate housing and short-term housing. So Austin, if you can help me answering this couple of questions that I have for you. The first question says, are graduate students eligible for on-campus accommodation?
Yes, absolutely. Graduate students can find information about on-campus housing at the following website, housing.umn.edu/graduate. That provides all the university-owned graduate student housing options that are available at this time. As mentioned before, Commonwealth Terrace Co-op and Como Student Community Co-op are owned by the university, but they're unique in that they're operated independently. So there's still the option for on-campus grad student housing, but they both operate a separate application and waitlist process. For any of the options on that page, though, you can go directly to their websites and contact each property individually, and each property will have their own application process listed on their website.
Thank you, Austin. And then the second question that I have for you, we got this one a lot, and it's about short-term housing. Are there any temporary housing options available for the time before the semester starts? How can I find short-term housing?
Yes, we have an early arrival housing option for all newly admitted international students. This is a housing option that is provided by Housing and Residential Life, where you would stay in university-operated housing that is available from July 26th to August 28th. And you can learn more about fees and dining and the check-in process and how to apply all on our website. If you go to housing.umn.edu/international, you have to scroll down maybe halfway through the page, but if you go to that website, you'll see a section on early arrival housing.
I appreciate it, Austin. Thank you so much for that detailed answer. We're going to move on to a question about security. So this one I will have to ask for Nick's help. The question is, how is security or safety at the off-campus accommodations?
Sure. So the off-campus accommodations, the ones that are not operated by the university, are privately owned. So we don't have a lot of control over them. However, one of the things that when you're looking at properties and to ask questions of the management team is to ask them, what are the security measures in place? Do they have security cameras? Are the doors secure? Do they have key fob entry? Who is the after hours contact? So if something happens, let's say after 5 p.m. or late that night or early in the morning, who is the person that they should be calling? Do they have overnight security on property? And for a majority of the properties that are off campus in what we call the Marcy Homes East or the Dinkytown area, starting this fall, we will be your primary response unit. So when you call 911 from any of those locations within that area, our police department will be the primary response to that area. But it's important that you do have conversations with your management team. You make sure that the doors lock. When you're checking your apartment out, do the doors lock properly? Do the windows have working locks as well? And again, look at your front doors, the main entryway, elevator access. Is it basically open to the public, or do you need a key fob to use the elevator? Again, those are some of the security features you can look at. The most important thing is to make sure that if you do have safety or security concerns, who is the person that you reach out to? And that would be the management team. And again, do they have someone that's living on site? Or is there a representative that lives on site? Or who do you call, let's say at 9 o'clock at night, and there's an issue, a safety issue that you're having? If the lights don't work in the parking lot, if the building lights don't work outside, if the entryway lights don't work and it's completely dark, or you have trouble using your key fob, who do you call? Who do you make those reports to? So it's important to really have those conversations. And one of the biggest things too is when you look at an apartment, how do you feel? Do you feel safe? Do you feel safe in the neighborhood? Do you feel safe in the building? What's the vibe you're getting from the management team? Do they feel receptive to your questions? Or are they on the defense? Why are you asking me all these questions about safety? But ask those questions, be aware of your surroundings, and more comes down to how do you feel in that building, because that's where you're going to be living for the next year, if not longer. So again, how do you feel within that building? And then who do you call when you need to call somebody if something happens? That would be the other big questions I would ask. And again, we are always a resource for you. So if you do have questions, feel free to reach out to us as well.
We appreciate it, Nick. Thank you for your detailed response. Full of great tips over there for our students. The next category we have in here is called finding a roommate. Tons of questions about roommates. So Emily, if you could help us answering the questions that I have for you. The first one says, how do I make friends with a roommate? Or how do I pick one?
Great question. In terms of making friends with a roommate or picking them, sometimes the order of that doesn't necessarily always happen with one before the other. You don't inherently have to create a friendship relationship with those that you're living with them with. It can be a great add to your life, obviously, but it's not required. The biggest thing is that you're compatible to live in the same spaces and that you agree on what that living environment should look like, regardless of if you want to be friends. And so that list of questions around how you set up your life now and how you think that's going to look like as you start your student experience is really the place I would start. So, what do you think your normal bedtime will be and when lights are going to go out? What do you define as a clean apartment or a clean space? Do you have agreement on what that looks like? Who or what responsibility does everyone take in cleaning that space or setting it up to be successful? Are you someone who wants to use the kitchen often? So that means that you're regularly cleaning versus not, right? So being open to those conversations on what you're actually looking for your shared life in a common living space. In terms of finding those different options, like I mentioned in the presentation, the ocl.umn.edu website will have an updated roommate finder in the next couple weeks. If you'd like to use that tool exclusively for connecting with other University of Minnesota students. And now you can explore public options, but again, always making sure to verify that their current UMN student is the safest way to know that they're going to be committed to the same experiences you're having as a UMN student.
Thanks, Emily. Our next question here says, if I can't solve the conflict with my roommate, what options do I have instead of staying until the lease ends?
Yep. The first step I take is connecting with student ombud services. They are a great tool to help mediate a conflict because sometimes you just need a third party to help you talk it out in a way that is confidential and kind of navigates the official, like we can move forward as roommates versus saying we can't actually move forward and we probably should seek additional options. The first point of contact would be your management office if you're living off campus or whoever owns your lease. If there are options to, if there's another interested party in swapping, or if there's other spaces, that potentially you could move into. The flag on that, though, is that if that different space either has a different rental rate, you'd be responsible, right, for those different rental rates. And you make sure that you're making that decision with really solid information and not just moving and not realizing that you did get separated from your roommate, but you now have a higher rent that you weren't necessarily planning for or accommodating for. So asking as many questions as possible. Breaking leases is something that you should never do without consulting student legal services. So make sure you talk to them prior to breaking a lease if you really need out of the situation with your roommate. And they can help you explore all your options as well, related to either subleasing or exploring other housing in a short-term way.
Thank you, Emily. All of those are great tips when it comes to roommates. And then the next question that I have for you, Emily, is about paying for housing. We got this one a couple of times. Can I use money from scholarships to pay for off-campus accommodation?
You might be able to. So scholarships are firstly usually applied to your account at the university to cover your tuition and any other fees or costs you have directly with the university. So if you're living off campus, you would only be able to use scholarship funds that have been applied to your university account. If there was more money in your scholarship award than there was charges on your student account. So if there is money left over, they will disperse a check to you of that remaining amount, or a direct deposit, depending on how you have your finances set up at the university. And then you can use that additional funds for anything that's school related, and that does include housing and food.
Thank you, Emily. We really appreciate it. Um, the next set of questions that I have here are for Adam. Um, the first question that I have here says, do new international students need an F1 or J1 visa to secure housing?
Yeah, we kind of talked about this a couple of times already. I don't think you necessarily need to have it to sign the lease. But it's our recommendation to make sure that you do have it in place before you sign the lease so you know that you will be able to fulfill the obligations of the lease. Because like I said a couple of times, and Austin said it as well, once the lease is signed, it's a fully enforceable contract.
Definitely. Thanks, Adam. And then the next question that I have for you says, some places require me to have a U.S. guarantor for a rent application. What are the qualifications to be a guarantor?
So if your landlord requires a guarantor, the guarantor has to be a U.S. guarantor, I should say. That guarantor has to be over the age of 18, reside within the United States, and then meet the financial requirements set by the landlord. Each landlord has a different requirement, but generally what they will look for is to make sure that the guarantor's monthly gross income is 2 or 3 times more than what the monthly rent amount is.
Thank you. That's really valuable information. Thank you so much, Adam. Some additional questions that we have here are more for our student leaders. I'm looking forward to listening what they have to share for all of our students here. The first one that I have is related to on-campus jobs. So many times we have gotten this question. How can I find an on-campus job?
I can I can answer that one. As somebody that has worked multiple jobs on campus, I've found all of them through the UMN student job website, which lists all which has like campus partners listing available jobs. And you can apply to as many as you need to and then wait to be contacted. But it's worth knowing a little bit more about the immigration, like how many hours can you work during a semester and how many hours can you work um on holidays. So those things you want to know. But usually yeah, through the UMN listing, you'd find a lot of jobs.
Thank you, Liam. I appreciate that. Thank you for answering that. The next question that I have is about neighborhoods. What neighborhoods did you live in, and what was your experience like? I know we had a presentation on the various neighborhoods around the university, but we would like to hear from our student leaders. Where did you live? Did you like it? What was your experience like?
I think I can go. So, hi everyone, Doris again. And I personally live at Prospect Park. And I will say that is a safer choice because, like, people living around this area are mostly students. So that's one of the reason I chose here. And another one is because I live close to Fresh Time, which is a supermarket, which is really convenient for international student, especially if you cook for yourself. And I think that is a really good choice if you want to make some good friends neighborhoods because you probably just found out, oh, we're in the same college, like CLA, CSE, or CHD. So that's my suggestions.
That's really helpful, Doris. I really appreciate that. Um, and then the next question that I have is about finding housing. What was your experience like? How did you find your off-campus housing? How did you do this?
I think I can continue with the questions again. So for me, the how I choose it is because I listen to the other alumni or the other students' experiences of living in different apartments, like living around Stadium Village, around Dinkytown, around different places in different apartment. And then that's the time you could like started to think about like what is the best choice for you. And I will also really suggest you to like reach out to the other students or the other alumni to try to find like if you could like be their roommates together or just hear about like different experiences of them living at different apartments. And just want to check if any are student leaders would like to share their experiences.
Doris, thank you so much. And Liam, I think you also want to share your experience. Please go
Yeah,
ahead.
I just want to share a little bit more about signing my first lease. So I made the mistake of not looking at all the options, and me and my other friends, I think all of us combined just looked at three options. Two of them were really not a good fit, and the third one just kind of relatively to the other two that we saw was just the best out of three bad options. So next year or this year that I was looking for another housing, I just went around and I looked at as many options as I could. For 3 months, I was just doing tours here, there, visiting different neighborhoods, and yeah, I'm really happy where I ended up at. So yeah, take your time and make sure that you do as many tours and learn as much as you can about the housing situation. Thanks.
All of these are great tips shared by our students. Thank you so much, Doris and Liam, for sharing your experience with off-campus housing. It's really, really valuable to hear from you. Um, these are the pre-submitted questions that you have sent, and now I'm going to move on to the questions that you have sent through the Q&A function here for this webinar. And then this is one question that will be answered live by Adam. So Adam, here's the question that we have for you. This has been sent by Udam. Which renter insurance do you recommend we look at or stay away from?
Yeah, this is a great question. And I probably should have included a bit about renters insurance in my presentation. So renters insurance is something that will, first I'm going to explain the difference between renters insurance and liability insurance. So renters insurance, because they are both terms of art. Renters insurance is an insurance that protects your personal property. Liability insurance is insurance that protects the property that you are living in, so the building itself. Most leases will require you to sign an agreement that says you will provide liability insurance, which protects their property, but not require renter's insurance. I recommend both. As far as liability insurance goes, pretty much any major carrier that provides insurance will fit the needs of the landlord. However, there is one property management company in the University District, Scion, that no longer accepts State Farm insurance. I'm not sure why. We haven't received an explanation. They just say that State Farm doesn't meet the requirements of their what they require for liability insurance. So if you're going to avoid one company, I guess, so you can cover everything, stay away from State Farm, although I don't know why State Farm isn't qualifying for Scion. Otherwise, other major carriers are fine. American Family, Farmers, whatever you can find. Google it. There are plenty of insurance providers in the university area. So that's for liability insurance. And then renter's insurance, I recommend getting, because if you do have an incident in your property, you want that renter's insurance to protect your personal property. And generally, a combination of a liability insurance and renter's insurance policy will cost you probably $15 to $20 per month. Again, if you're confused about any of it, just call our office or send an email and say you were in this and you want to make an appointment for a lease review. Glad everybody joined this morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adam. And yes, just echoing what Adam just said, contact SLS if you have any further questions. Just don't forget to mention this webinar. They will be able to support you with your questions. Thank you so much for also sending all of your burning questions through our Q&A. Thank you to our campus partners, my colleagues, for helping answering all of those questions. You can continue to send them until this webinar is over. We'll do our best to answer them to the best of our ability. And for now, I'm going to continue this webinar by moving this onto Nindu.
Thanks so much, Adriana, for that dynamic and informative Q&A and for facilitating that. I will now briefly walk you through how to stay connected with ISS. There are so many ways to stay connected with ISS as a new international student, including the new student website in ISS. And a link to it will be dropped in the chat. And our Global Gopher Experiences website, and that will also be available to you in the chat right now. You can also contact us via email at issnew@umn.edu, and an ISS staff member will respond to you. As an international student, it is never wrong to ask and connect with ISS, so please reach out to us with questions. And once again, welcome to our Global Gopher family. Make sure you also follow our social media channels. With that, I will pass it to Doris, who will talk about the next GGE webinar. Doris.
Thank you, Nindu. Okay, so as I mentioned before, our next GGE webinar for all of our students is how to take care of your health and navigate the US healthcare system. So if you have any healthcare related questions, please join us next time. And it will be on August 5th, 8 to 9:30 a.m. Central Time. So if you're interested in attending, please make sure to register in advance. And we will drop the registration link in the chat now. And that wraps up our session. Thank you all so much for joining us today. And we will end our session with a Goldie video. The whole video will be about 4 minutes long. You can stick with us if you like to. Otherwise, feel free to leave the session, and we hope to see you soon in our next session. Thank you.
I got that sunshine in my pocket. pocket. Got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off it. I got this feeling inside my bones. It goes electric wavy when I turn it on. Off from my city, off from my home. We're flying up, no ceiling when we in our zone. I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off it, moving so phenomenally. You're more like the way we rock it, so don't stop. And under the lights when everything goes, nowhere to hide when I'm getting you close. When we move, well, you already know. So just imagine. Nothing I can see but you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel good, good creeping up on you. So just dance, dance, dance. Come on. All those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. And ain't nobody leaving soon, so keep dancing. I can't stop the feeling. So just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance, dance. Come on. Ooh, it's something magical. It's in the air, it's in my blood, it's rushing on. I don't need no reason, don't need control. I fly so high, no ceiling when I'm in my zone. Cause I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off it, moving so phenomenally. You're more like the way we rock it, so don't stop, stop, stop. Under the lights when everything goes, nowhere to hide when I'm getting you close. When we move, well, you already know. So just imagine. Nothing I can see but you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel good, good creeping up on you. So just dance, dance, dance. Come on. All those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. And ain't nobody leaving soon, so keep dancing. I can't stop the feeling. So just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance, dance. So just dance, dance, dance. I can't stop the feeling, yeah. So keep dancing. Oh, yeah, yeah. I can't stop the. 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 Nothing I can see but you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel good, good creeping up on you. So just dance, dance, dance. Come on. All those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. Ain't nobody leaving soon, so keep dancing. Everybody say. I can't stop the feeling. Oh, no, I can't stop the feeling. I can't stop the feeling in my body. Break it down. Got this feeling in my body. Can't stop the feeling. Got this feeling in my body. Come on.
Goodbye, everybody. Go Zero, you'll have to end our webinar.